Oh, la vie me joue des tours, essaie de faire la peau. Amour est éveillé, caché sous mon chapeau.
Hi everyone, so this week we're going to be talking about throwing the bones. What you need is a chicken, and what you're going to do is you're going to boil it up, and once it's, nice and you have like a nice broth there that you can totally make into soup, you're then going to take a certain number of the bones. So in order to prepare the bones, and I have some bones right here, they are not bleached. So, basically you're going to need 4 different bones, and I did tape these, but I'll hold them up anyway. There's a fat bone, there's a long bone, you're going to need a broken bone, a tiny bone, and the wishbone. The wishbone is not one that you're going to throw. So Sister Mabel actually gave a really nice introduction on how she prepares her bones. And you can do this a different way if you have different deities that you work with, but she uses her ancestors. We'll do that, and I usually like to keep mine pretty plain, and I know that Sister Mabel does the same. She usually bleaches them though. Then you place them on your ancestor altar, or if there's another deity that you use, you can always place them on that altar as well. She does it for 7 days, and you ask for the blessing of the bones. The next day, you put them through fire, earth, air, and wind, and that's, however tradition shows you. And basically hers is incense, under sun, under moon, under soil. So that could be your front yard or crossroads or anything like that. Then dig up, cleanse in spring water or similar. Store in box with cross on and pray for 7 nights. And you don't, her tradition is to pray for 7 nights on it. And although I have friends that they put it on their altar for 3 days, and with Legwa being my father, I would usually do something for 3 days. But it just really depends on what you feel comfortable with and what you feel comfortable doing. So the little fat bone, this can represent hidden strengths, things not immediately obvious as strengths, but which are there. For example, if someone was afraid of surgery, but behind the fear is, or it's actually an irrational fear. They know that somehow they will come out okay, or this is just a routine surgery. And even though it may not be apparent to the person, and even though subconsciously they know that they'll be okay, it may be a fear that they have, but this bone would come up and show that that was actually not the case. So this would be an inner strength, something that you may not know, or it may be something that you're aware of too. Say you're going through a trying time and this bone comes up, and it's basically telling you that you have the strength to get through it. Here we have the broken bone, as you can see. And so the broken bone is pretty obvious. It generally shows problems, worries, concerns, etc. It is usually seen as a negative bone, so if this falls into an area that it basically tells you that the relationship is broken, that there's something flawed in it. So usually when this bone falls into an area of questioning, when you're doing divination, it is usually seen as a negative sign. It's all problems, worries, etc. So the wishbone can mean wish fulfillment, or wish fulfillment depending on where and how it lands. This bone you do not throw. This one stays in the center, and if another bone falls on it, say perhaps the small fat bone falls on it, then that is an inner strength that will allow your wishes to come true. If the broken bone falls on it, then no, the wish will not come true. The long bone is endurance, long-term things. It can also lessen negative things depending on where it lands, and it definitely is an authoritative bone. This small little tiny bone, it's the least powerful of the bones. It deals with lightweight little issues, things that will shift, daily stuff rather than lifetime stuff. So, it's usually like, that saying, don't sweat the small things? This little bone is the small things. So this is Sister and Abel's diagram, and the mat or plate, you can either have it on like a cloth or you can have it on a plate. I just drew it on paper just to show you. But the earth part is all of the stuff that life is made of. Love, hate, lies, trust, human nature, long-term stuff, all of the problems and solutions, the stuff that is generally asked about. So love, money, health, all of those things. The roots part is more basic stuff. That's like work, health, money. It's more in-depth, like family relationships. So say with the earth stuff that's more long-term, the roots is more kind of like everyday stuff. Think about going to work every day, dealings with the family, everyday things. And it's foreseeable rather than long-term future. In other words, it's things that live less long than the actual earth. That's metaphysically speaking. And then the rooster section is transitory. So it'd be less long, nothing actually to do with roosters or anything like that. It has to do with travel, things you own, material items. The rooster stuff can stop us seeing more important things, as it can sidetrack us from things in the root section or the earth sections. So basically, the earth has the biggest influence, so its number is 3. The root is the next biggest, so its number is 2. The rooster is the third, so its number is 1. So basically, less important, 1, a little bit more important, 2, and most important, 3. So this diagram would be used basically the same as the other one. You have the fire or the spirit realm, the earth, practical, water, emotional, and the air is spirit realm, but it's more of ether, whereas fire is sort of passion and long-term stuff. The air is more of the special messages from deities or ancestors. So you would use the number system the same, but it would just be the way that the bones fall. So it's a little bit different, but pretty much the same. A lot of people use different variations. You can see both of these right here. And you can even come up with your own variation if you find something that works for you. Okay, so how to throw the bones. So what you're going to do is you're going to put the wishbone down in the section that you're asking about. And you can also use this for tarot cards too. So if you're doing a tarot reading, what you'll do is you'll put the wishbone down on the card that you're asking about. And for past, you're going to put the bones in your left hand, and then you're going to breathe in it, center, and throw. For present, both hands, breathe into them, center, throw. And then for future, right hand, again, breathe in it, center, throw. So now you know how to do it for past, present, future. So in this case, you have the number 2133, which means there's an issue which is related to something concerning coping with life, a kind of ongoing basis. So it could be something like money or the spending of it, quitting smoking, noisy neighbors, that kind of stuff, but ongoing. What is needed is some relaxation of the mind to deal with the issue properly, because it can indicate that the pressures can make the person do things which are okay in the short term but not so cool in the long term. For example, if you bang on the neighbor's wall, it may shut them up for a while, but it won't help long term. If you cut down on cigarettes rather than cold turkey, you may not be helping yourself in the long term. If you take out a loan, it will help you now, but you have to remember that you have to pay it back. So it really depends on the question. And this also means the person who is doing the reading needs to look at the longer term solutions and see what happens and what habits are not helping long term, which may be in fact working against them. So although the short term action seems to stop it, the long term it really won't. So a solution to the problem needs to be found in the long term, not the short term. This may be a struggle, but it will not only solve the issue, but assist with personal growth. So that is the main thing going on. So if the bones cross, the fat bone over the long bone means positive long-term outcome, strength, and positive change. If the fat bone falls over the broken bone, it means follow your gut and not what others say. Fat bone over small bone means the last part of the reading is the most relevant part. Long bone over fat bone means strength over a situation. Long bone over a broken bone means slightly less negativity. Long bone over small bone means throw bones again. Broken bone over fat bone, be cautious of long-term implications. Broken bone over long bone, be steady, moderate. Broken bone over small bone, not positive at all, be cautious and careful. Small bone over fat bone, seriously look at the negative factors in the reading and work on those. Small bone over long bone, amps up the positivity. Small bone over broken bone, a bit of worrying. So that was a very general how to read the bones, and Sister Enable will be teaching a class on that further in the spring. So just keep on checking in with us and we will let you know when that happens. Next week, what we'll be talking about is a little bit of divination with coconut or obi. And my godfather, Ochani Lele, wrote a really wonderful book on that. So we'll be going over that a little bit, and I highly recommend his book. I'll show you what it is, and you can check it out, and it gives really defined explanations of how to read obi. So we'll talk about that. I'll draw up a few little charts and you can see with that. So stay tuned for the next episode, and if you have any questions, please drop us a line.